Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. This time around, I'm doing another thrift shop, op shop, opportunity shop, charity shop haul. Call it what you will. I haven't spent a lot of money, but I've found some interesting things, some of which I've got for purposes, some of which were serendipitous discoveries, but they're kind of interesting. Between everything, I might have spent maybe $25, which is kind of good. The One Shop Savers actually gave me a 20% discount because we donated a bunch of stuff we had around the house to them. So if you are thrift shopping and looking around things, just find out whether there's anything you can donate to those places because it helps them. But you may also get a bit of a discount. So I'm kind of happy about that, and I'm happy to help them out by giving them excess household things that we have. But on to movies. Did pretty well. I'm not unhappy with this haul. So let's get started. This one I got for $4, which is a good deal for me. On Blu-ray, Duncan Jones, source code, with Jake Gyllenhaal in it. Time travel-y kind of thing, a little bit trippy, a little bit fun. In case you didn't know, Duncan Jones is the son of David Bowie. And if you don't remember who David Bowie was, he was that guy that sang a novelty song called The Laughing Gnome in the 1960s. I'm a laughing gnome and you can't catch me. Not sure what he did after that. His son, Duncan Jones, who did Moon, who did Source Code Hero, who made a movie out of Warcraft, the computer game, which I kind of like, but isn't very good. Source Code may do it for a future science fiction video on the Science Fiction Saturday on the channel. Let me know if you want me to, because these kind of time traveling movies are often interesting and unraveling them can be a bit of fun. So that's what I got first up. Next one stars a distant relative of mine, which is kind of cool. I know nothing about this, and I haven't even looked it up. Saw it today. By the way, the source code cost me $4. This one, it cost me $1, which you're going to take a punt on $1. A movie called Bitter Victory with Richard Burton in it. Now, again, I don't know anything about this. I'm just going to look at the back now and see what it says. It stars Richard Burton, Kurt Jurgens, Ruth Roman, who is one of my favourite 1950s actresses. Directed by Nicholas Ray. I didn't know that. Nick Ray directed this. But I'm going to give that one a go because I'm kind of interested to see what it's like. It looks like a war film directed by Nicholas Ray, starring Richard Burton. I'm there. I am locked into this one. So I'm kind of glad I got that. There's a little bit of mank up there on the spine a bit, but I can probably fix that by putting it into a different cover. Nonetheless, I want to watch that one and just see what it's about. Next one is another science fiction movie, which I'm inclined to do on the channel as well. Again, this one cost me $1. Equilibrium, with Christian Bale and Taye Diggs, set in a weird kind of repressive Orwellian future. And there's a lot of kung fu done with guns in this one. I haven't seen it for a while, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it. Yeah, this one should be a lot of fun. I think it was filmed in Eastern Europe. Directed by Kurt Willow. Yeah, I'm going to give this one a go too, because I think there's a period of time from the late 90s to the early 2000s when there were some interesting smaller science fiction films coming out that were kind of swallowed and subsumed under the big blockbuster things that were coming out at the time. And so they didn't get enough breathing space to really be appreciated, and in some cases to find an audience. I think Equilibrium is one of those. I've found an audience on video, but I'm going to put that one into a future Saturday science fiction video for the channel. This one's interesting because it's got some good movies in it, but it's a 5-movie drama collection, it says here. Who put it out? Flashback Entertainment put it out, so I'm not sure of the quality here. Hell of a good selection of movies. It's got Shopping with Jude Law and Sadie Frost. The Babysitters with John Leguizamo, Catherine Waterston, Cynthia Nixon. The Hit with Tim Roth, Terrence Stamp, and John Hurt, which is a Stephen Frears joint. The End of Violence with Bill Pullman, Andy McDowell, and Gabriel Byrne. And The 7% Solution, that really interesting Sherlock Holmes film starring Nicole Williamson, which I didn't have a copy of on DVD. This one cost me $3 for the 5 movies. And between The Hit, The End of Violence, and The 7% Solution, not a bad bunch of films. I was quite pleased with that. The End of Violence, of course, is a Wim Wenders joint. But yeah, that was totally random in the op shop. And 5 movies for $3 is always a deal you got to take. Particularly The 7% Solution. is a movie I have an inordinate love for. Apart from anything else, it's got a song by Stephen Sondheim and it's sung by a brothel keeper. That one I'm looking forward to rewatching. Next one's a blast from the past from the 1990s, which I like in spite of myself. It's a comedy, it's a rock and roll comedy. It is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay. Who else is in there? Robert Englund's in there. Priscilla Presley, Wayne Newton.
Tell me something. When you first heard Wayne Newton sing,
yeah,
did you think he was a girl?
And Ed O'Neill. So yeah, this one I kind of like. I think it's got a lot going for it. I know that Andrew Dice Clay's shtick wears thin very soon, but it's got a certain rock and roll sensibility about it. And it's, I believe, based on a comic book. I'll just put on the screen whether it is or not. But I know I've heard of it before this came out. And it's a very good copy. Again, it cost me $1. And yeah, it's in totally good nick. I'm going to add that to the collection just for the fact that now and then I want to dip into this kind of 90s movie that gives me some cringe but also entertains me. Next one's another box set of 3 movie collector's pack. Who's this one by? Which studio? Sony put this one out. Jet Li's The One, Jackie Chan The Medallion, Stephen Chow's Kung Fu Hustle in a 3-pack. The cover is a bit shitty there. Cost me $2 for some very good Wuxia style action. Now, the Jet Li one, The One, is kind of like Highlander with Kung Fu. The Medallion I don't know much about, but Kung Fu Hustle is one of the great action comedies. And getting that in a box set for $2, which means it cost me about, what, 66 cents, is not a bad deal at all. And Sony usually put out a quality product. There are no real extras on any of these discs, but the movies stand for themselves, and particularly Kung Fu Hustle is a great one to watch. I could even pair it with Ford Fairlane and do like a comedy double bill for myself. Not unhappy with this. Not too many details on the back apart from the usual stuff about the credits. But yeah, this one surprised me and well worth keeping in my collection. The Transporter collection. Transporter 1, Transporter 2, Jason Statham on Blu-ray, which I didn't have. I got this at the Savers, which is one of my favourite thrift stores at the moment. $4 for the 2 movies on Blu-ray. And yeah, they're good, solid action films. I'm trying to remember who directed these suckers. And the font here is like 0.3 font. I'll put up on the screen who directed these movies. But yeah, there's not many extras on it. There's some deleted scenes on the Transporters too, a blooper reel and featurettes. But yeah, good, solid Statham action. And I like a bit of Statham action. I'm looking forward to the second Meg movie that's coming out with Jason Statham in it as well. Middle-aged geek girl's an enormous shark movie fan, so she squeed when I showed her the trailer for the Meg 2 The Trench. And we're going to go see that at the cinema because that's the sort of movie we can bond with. But yeah, Transporter films, a lot of fun. Not as much fun, I think, as the Chev Chelios but not bad value at all. And great car stunts. Gotta love a good car stunt. The next one's a Terry Gilliam joint, which the star died in the middle of. And even though it does have Johnny Depp in it, I haven't seen it, but I want to give it a go. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Heath Ledger, of course, died during filming, and they had to change a bit of the stuff to do with that. This one cost me $2 at Savers. Haven't seen it, but I want to see it. Good cast, with one exception. Heath Ledger, Christopher Plummer, Vern Troyer, Andrew Garfield's in there, Lily Cole, Tom Waits, Colin Farrell and Jude Law. So I want to check that one out and just see what the fuss is about. I'm not sure whether that's deliberate or whether the cover's faded a bit, but it doesn't particularly matter. At $2, definitely a good buy. This one's a 1930s Cecil B. DeMille movie, which was put out by Bounty, a short-lived label here in Australia, with Henry Wilcoxon and Loretta Young. The Crusades. Going to have a lot of large-scale action scenes, as Cecil B. DeMille movies have. I thought I'd give this one a go for $2 as well. I don't have a lot of 30s cinema, not as much as I want to. And I want to maybe do some videos in future about 1930s cinema as well. Let me know whether you want me to. Crusades, I want to see and kind of enjoy the tackiness in the 1930s. This is post-code, so it's not a pre-code movie where you got a little more titillation in it. But yeah, I want to give that one a go and just enjoy it and see what the fuss is about. Not that there's a lot of fuss. Down to the last two now. 1960s, there were a lot of World War II movies because there was nostalgia for the most exciting time in a lot of people's lives. And so a lot of people watched these films and enjoyed them and laughed at them at times when they got things wrong. This is a lesser English RAF movie, Mosquito Squadron, with David McCallum. Who else is in there? Doesn't say. Directed by Boris Segal. No special features at all. $2 at the thrift store. And yeah, I'm going to give that one a go too. It's a kind of movie. It's another one of those Sunday afternoon movies that would turn up on TV on Sunday afternoons, back when television was a major player in our entertainment. And yeah, I'll give that a go for $2. Still got a little bit of storage space, so all good. This one I bought because I wanted to do a compare and contrast with another movie that came out in this year, which was 1998. I remember it was 1998 because I saw this movie in a Cineplex in Orange County in California in 1998. Armageddon. Michael Bay's Armageddon. Totally over-the-top stupid. Power ballads. Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, Buscemi's in it as well. Whole bunch of people. Yeah, the Earth's going to get hit by an asteroid, so they get a whole bunch of grunts to go up and smash it to pieces. It's a meathead action film of its time, and I wanted to compare and contrast it with a more nuanced and intelligent action film with a very similar theme. Deep Impact, the Mimi Leder directed movie with Taya Leone in it. It's got Robert Duvall's in there, Maximilian Schell. Good, solid film. Morgan Freeman's in there as well. So I want to compare and contrast these two. I already had this one, but I want to compare and contrast these two and just look at the pros and cons of each of them. And I'll put together a video about that at some stage in the near future. So glad I got Armageddon, and I'm glad I only paid $1 for it in a 2-disc set, which shows you the high regard with which that movie is held by charity stores around the place. Now, the last thing I have for you is interesting because I wasn't expecting to look for it. It's not actually a movie. It's a movie book edited by Leonard Maltin, a little paperback called The Real Stars, which is basically a whole bunch of biographies and interviews with and filmographies of character actors from the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. They got all sorts of people in there. Patsy Kelly, Rex Ingram, the guy who played the genie in Thief of Baghdad's in there as well. Edgar Buchanan, Billy Gilbert, Gladys George, Hans Conried, and many more. And it's a nice reference book. This is what we had before we had IMDb and before we had the internet. It's an edition from the 1970s. Yep, there were new releases of it done between 1969 and 1973. And it's got a lot of pictures in it too, which is useful, having a lot of the production stills from the movies. So this is one I'm going to sit down and just kind of thumb through and enjoy and learn a little bit more about a lot of character actors who turn up in movies I talk about on the channel. This kind of reference book is mother's milk to me. I love it. I love to be able to dive into it and learn more about an aspect of film that I find interesting. And the guys and women who really filled out the worlds of a lot of the films we love and filled them out in a way that enhanced and lifted the stars. And they don't get enough credit for it. They never did. But they did really add to our memories of many, many classic films. And they still do to this day. There are jobbing character actors who, you see them in a movie, you know the movie's going to be that much better because they're in it. William Fichtner, people like William Fichtner in a film, always lifts that film. But yeah, this one I'm glad I got. It's an American edition. Never heard of it, never seen it before. And it turned up for a couple of bucks in the vintage paperback shelf that the Savers I go to has. And I like that one because I can find all sorts of weird and wonderful things that show up there. And they tend to only put the older paperbacks rather than the new stuff that everybody's got 15 copies of already. turn up on that shelf, which is one of the reasons I love that particular thrift store. So that's it for this time around. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you like out of the haul, and let me know what you don't like out of the haul as well. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know all the stuff to do already. You can also support the channel financially and support me buying these thrift store hauls by donating each month at patreon.com/terrytalksmovies. I've got a video later in the week about Australian horror films, one of which was filmed just down the road. And then I've got the science fiction one for Science Fiction Saturday. So until then, look after yourselves. Stay safe, stay well. Watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Go out and spend a couple of bucks and see what you can find in the weird and wonderful dusty world of thrift stores. And I'll catch you next time.